and good evening. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. Tonight we're going to talk about a real touchy issue. It's become politicized by people. I'll just say it. A lot of people on the left are trying to politicize this issue. It's not a political issue. It is a human issue. We're talking about trafficking of human beings. And a new movie just came out called The Sound of Freedom. It is opening the door to this topic. I've been covering this for years. The people you're about to meet, one has experienced this for years. The other has been helping people through this for years, right there in Eugene, Oregon. And but nobody seems to ever want to talk about it. And now this movie has come out, and it's opened the doors to people really having a conversation about what is going on. Our sponsors tonight are Albert Taylor, Endless Possibilities, an amazing organization in Eugene and Springfield, based out of Springfield. Work with people with different abilities to ensure that they have the life that they want to live. And they're always looking for employees, people to come in and change the lives of the people they work with. It will change your life. You will never have a day that you go home and not think that you did something important today. If you're interested in looking for them, go to Albert Taylor. Just Google it and look up on their website under jobs, and they would love to have you working with them. Other sponsor? Chris Dental Family Dentistry. Dr. Michael Bratlin. They do denture work now. They do all your regular teeth care. In fact, if you're into crowns, they have great deals on crowns, and Dr. Bratlin is probably the expert in Eugene, Springfield on putting on a crown. I got one. My wife has two. He put on both of them. He's an awesome man, and he loves freedom of speech and sponsors our show on a regular basis. And our other sponsor for tonight, Montana Oral Surgery and Dental Implant Center. If you're in anywhere in the, actually almost anywhere in the state, they have offices in Butte, Bozeman, Helena, and Great Falls. And they do all kinds of oral surgery. And if you have a tooth missing, don't sit around and put up with that. They can do an implant for you. And it's not like a denture. It's just like a regular tooth that you can use the way that other teeth are used. And they told me yesterday, I interviewed them, and they told me, if you don't get a tooth replaced, that your other teeth will actually start filling in that space, and then you will never be able to do that. So great people, great organization. If you're in Montana, give them a call, find out more about it if you're in the need for something like that. Let me get rid of one other thing here, move that out of the table and this out of the table. Now, we're going to talk to Diana Jans. Hi, Diana.
Hi.
Diana is with Hope Ranch, an organization where we'll kind of tell people what you do, because you started this like 11 years ago, and that's when you became a nonprofit. And kind of tell people what it is that you do.
Well, we do anything I say to support survivors as long as it's legal. And, I'll just leave it at that. But we support survivors. We have a small private home where many survivors have come through. We work with survivors in the community. And one of the things I love about what we do is people come through our home, and then we don't just drop them. I mean, I am in contact with probably the majority of the people, and I personally live with them. And we also do a lot of awareness, because it's what keeps people safe, and it's incredibly difficult to traffic anybody that's aware and that knows what's going on, and that's parents and youth included.
So what do you mean? So education is really the key to safety here.
Yes. Can I give you one example?
Please.
Yeah. So there was a young lady that lived with me. She worked on West 11th at Fred Meyer. She came home one day and she said, so I was taking my break. I went outside and I was just standing on the sidewalk, and I saw this really good looking dude walk towards me. He had a handful of cash. His other hand had a keys to the Mercedes. He walked up to her and he said, hey, I'm just down from Portland. I'm staying at the Graduate. how about if I pick you up after work and we just have a great weekend? You can make lots of money. I'll let you drive my Cadillac. And she was a tall girl. She is a tall girl anyway. And she says, I stood up as tall as I could. And she said, I said to him, I know exactly what you're doing. Because, of course, I right away educated her. I know exactly what you're doing and what you're up to. Get away from me. And guess what he did? He walked away.
Huh.
They don't want people that are aware. They don't want people that know what they're doing.
So how did this movie? Because I mean, seriously, I mean, Bob, that's the chief of police out in Junction City, is an expert on this stuff. We've been talking about it. Saraptam has talked. I've been doing seminars and stuff on this. You've been talking about it, but it never gets any traction. Has this movie helped to bring awareness to not so much locally what's going on, but just internationally that there is a problem out there?
I would say yes. I mean, here I am talking to you. You know what I'm saying? And other people have contacted me as well, which is pretty awesome. Whether I would say The Sound of Freedom, if you haven't gone to see it, because if it gets even a few people to change their mind and get passionate about this issue, it's worth it. It's,
So, so what do you say? Because I was telling you earlier, so this is not like a big trick question or anything, but I had somebody come on a live I was doing just a while ago, and she said, I saw The Sound of Freedom and I really liked it, and she says, oh, so you're conservative, and it just pisses me off. This is not a political issue.
right.
This is an issue of human beings being trafficked, and how the hell somebody can make this about whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. Or I had some lady pass me some information saying your information said too many people, fewer people are trafficked than that. And I thought, what? Well, if one person's trafficked, isn't that bad enough? And it's like, so we're going to nitpick and piece people's lives because of politics? Shame on them. Shame,
Yeah.
shame, shame, shame.
Yes. Preach it.
Oh, it infuriates me.
Yeah.
So my audience, here we go. Here's what I want you to do. Now we're going to put the rubber where the road goes. So Diana has a young woman here, and she is not a survivor. She's not a victim. She's what we call a thriver. So she has made it through, she is making it through, because this is probably a lifelong journey. I'm going to bring Vanna in. Vanna, and that is not her real name. And we're obviously not showing her face because she's a local young woman. Vanna, thanks for being here, hon.
Yeah, of course.
So you're 17. Kind of tell the story of how old you were and when you were first trafficked?
So I think I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I was sold a few times by it was like one of my parents' boyfriends, and yeah, I was sold. I don't even want to say a few times. I was sold a lot of times, and that's where it all started. You know.
So what do you mean sold?
Um, like sold, like somebody paid him to go to take me away from where I was living.
And so then,
And
so that and we've already, Van and I have had this conversation that if I ask something she doesn't want to talk about, she doesn't have to.
no, it's okay. I need to.
So did this person that he sold you to have sex with you?
Oh yeah, and it was multiple people all across Wayne County.
We're having sex with a 6 and 7-year-old.
Yes, yes,
What?
yes.
What's going on in your head when that's going on?
It's weird the fact that I can't really remember. I know that I knew that I was pretty innocent, and I knew that there was something wrong for sure. I knew that it wasn't right. I just didn't understand what was happening.
So when did you start figuring out that that this was, so
Oh, sorry, were you?
no, go ahead. No, go ahead. Hon.
I think it was right around when I was 10, 11, when it had been going on for years already, when I started getting offered money, finally, like, they were like, okay, well, here, like, there's money here for you. And I started doing drugs already at that time. And so I think that that's right around the time when I was going to starting getting ready to go into middle school that I learned that there was something going on, and I learned that it wasn't right.
So you were going to a regular school then?
Yes, I was
Did
going.
did any of your friends know?
No, nobody knew.
Were you ashamed?
Oh, of course I was ashamed, but I would do my best to hide it.
So so did you? How many times do you think that you were sold?
Um, by that time, it had to have been at least a couple hundred. It had been going on for years. I mean, so many times. I mean, it had been going on for years at that point, you know.
Oh, I'm so
So
sorry.
it's okay. That's why I'm here.
So so Diana, how unusual is this story?
Unfortunately, it's not unusual. And let me just add, there's a local parole officer who told me that half of her clientele have been trafficked in Lane County by their parents for drugs or money. And do we have a drug problem? Yes. And I want to tell you that most of the people, I would say the majority, over 50% of the people I've worked with were trafficked by their parents here in Lane County and other places too, but it's unbelievable and horrific. I mean, it's hard for me not to cry right now because I love Vanna and I love them all, and it just breaks my heart because it's happening right now to people, to kids.
So their parents are selling them basically for drugs, and
Yeah, or money.
we have the state of Oregon that then legalizes drugs with Measure 110, which I'm sure helps a lot. You
Yeah,
know,
no.
what do you? So Vanna, how do you feel about yourself?
I'm recently learning how to love myself. I'm not involved in that life anymore at all. So I'm learning how to love myself and healing more from my drug addiction and learning how to love myself more every day, if that's what you're asking.
What do you? So you're at the Hope Ranch. So what is your hope?
My hope is that girls, if I can at least stop one person from being sold, then that's my goal.
How do you stop that when it's your parents that are selling? You know what I mean? So nobody. It's almost like we need to stop the buyers. I
So it
mean,
wasn't my biological parents, but it was a parent figure for sure. And you really just need people, like Diana said, to be aware of what's happening so that they can come out and say something about it. And that's what it's going to take to stop it at this point, is those people need to be put either to death or behind bars. And that's what I believe.
did anybody ever suspect when you were younger? Like, did you show any signs of withdrawnness? That's not a word, but but being,
Withdrawnness. I'm
I
sure
made it
I
up.
I'm sure I did. That time of my life is really, a lot of my childhood is really blurred. So I grew up really fast, and I remember I remember this lady would come to my school and ask me things like, oh, like what's going on at home, and I was never really able to tell her anything because I was always so scared.
Oh, does she know now?
I'm not sure. I don't know even how. I don't even know her name or anything, so I'm not sure. She might.
So if you could sit down with kids, little kids, what would you tell them?
Gosh, I don't know. I
What
don't
could
know how to
some
put it in like a little kid way, but I mean, if there was a girl that was going through that, then I would definitely tell her to talk to somebody.
Were you scared?
I was so scared. Of course, I was scared.
The first time that happened, is that just blocked out of your mind, or do you remember anything?
Oh, I remember something. I remember he like took me in a car to the side of the highway, and I remember trying to fight him. Like I remember that, but I don't remember too much. It's kind of like little flashback memories, like little clips. A
So,
lot of this, there's like little clips.
so Diana, how much of the mental trauma is that the hardest thing to go away for these thrivers?
I would say the mental trauma, and along with that, unfortunately, often comes addictions, and then just the shame. A lot of people deal with the shame. They're just embarrassed, and I think that's one of our goals, is to let people know it's okay to tell and it's okay to talk. I mean, I myself was forced into a sexual relationship when I was pretty young, and I was scared to death. I thought I would be blamed, it would be my fault, and I would get in trouble.
I just talked with a guy who's coming on tomorrow night, and he had a boss who sexually assaulted him, and he's in his 30s. And because he's an ex-con, he needed the job. And so he didn't feel he could say anything. And this went on for a long time, and it turned into rape.
Wow.
And what is, Vanna, you're just like 17 years old. How do you see the world? I'm just curious for how, you seem like, you're pretty adjusted for what you've been through. And maybe that's just because we're here. I don't know.
I see the world. I'm kind of disgusted, to be honest, of what's going on, and that not a lot's being done to solve it. I mean, there's people like Hope Ranch, like Diana who runs Hope Ranch, but I mean, if you think about it, there really isn't a whole lot of action put in to stop this thing that's going on worldwide, and there's just not really being done anything being done to stop it, and that just disgusts me and hurts me a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Then
does it kind of re-victimize you? Because you know what I mean? It has to feel like, and I hope this isn't like putting something in your head, but that people just don't care. I mean, I think it's really easy for people to go, oh, that's so sad, and I'm sorry, and all that. But when do you really need culture and society to stand up and say, hell no more?
Most definitely.
What would that do for you?
Like if it was really being done to put a stop to sex trafficking, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
It would do for me. I mean, I don't know. It probably just made me even feel better, like there's something's being done to stop it. Like make me feel like happy. I don't know.
Would it make you? Does it make you feel like maybe that you matter?
Oh, for sure. Because not like you said, people are making it into a political issue, and it's not. It's like an issue of what's really going on in society, and people don't want to wrap their heads around it. That's what I think.
So, Rick, if I may say a couple of things. So it really is, if you think about it, it's a supply and demand. If there was no demand, there would be no sex trafficking. And for too long, we have focused on the victim. We focused on everybody but the buyer. If there were no buyers, there would be no sex trafficking. And they're the people amongst us. I don't care. Every survivor, thriver, has told me that, it doesn't matter if it's policemen, and all policemen aren't bad. Neither. I'm not painting everybody with the same brush, but it's pastors, it's professors, it's the neighbors, and the majority of them are married and have kids. And we need to start talking about the demand. And unfortunately, like I said earlier today, it is about people in high places are involved. And that's part of the reason why it's so difficult.
I think that's what you learned, or I learned from the Sound of Freedom, was that how I came away from that movie thinking there are so many people in high places that are doing this or know this or covering for people who did this. And that's the only thing I can come up with why it's not being addressed as a major issue. Because you look at the numbers, and America has the biggest consumption and production of this sex trafficking, according to the statistics that I was listening to.
And it's true. And pornography is actually what has driven the huge increase. If you think about it, in 1995, America went online, basically, AOL, America Online. And so now most of the pornography that's consumed is free, and it drives it. And it just, a lot of thrivers will say, yes, I get asked to do what they see in pornography. And often the they're filmed and then it's used as porn. So it's just tragic all the way around, and we need to educate, because what our mind doesn't know, our eyes won't see.
So, so what you do is you open this home, and women who are mostly women, I'm guessing, is what you handle because you wouldn't mix.
Yes.
So you have women that come in, and how long are they with you?
Well, it all depends, because I've, had different lengths, everywhere from almost 2 years to sometimes a few weeks. But we also work with survivors in the community. We help people find safe places. There's a couple of organizations, and one of them is, wow, it just went out of my head.
I still,
But
trust me, I understand.
but it's a nonprofit. It's a great nonprofit, and they're connected to safe houses all across the U.S. And we've been working with them for 4 or 5, 6 years, and just had great success of getting people to a safe place. And so there's things being done, but it often is a money issue. It comes down
Right.
to money and people having the will to do something.
So, Diana, could you just give me like a couple of tips for people, really simple things that, if you see your kid doing this or telling your kids, what I got from that movie is do not let your kids even out, you got to watch them. And people were coming in yards and ripping off one kid and taking another. And, I mean, is there a couple good tips that people can have or some places they can go for information?
Yes, and I think that, I mean, it wasn't, The Sound of Freedom is a movie that's there to make money too, and so it was a little Hollywoodish. But having said that, it's not a real picture, like, totally. That happens, but very rarely that someone gets snatched. I mean, I know of people that have gotten taken. But
So
if
it's
you're
mostly people that are make a mistake, and like that woman you told us who didn't. But if she would have got in that car with that guy, then she would
Yeah,
have been.
and it's about grooming. And the internet right now, the kids are there, they're unsupervised, and it's about grooming that's going on, and nobody talks about that. But it just starts very small, and grows and grows and grows until they control this person, the victim. We don't like that word, but you know what I'm talking about. But I want to tell you about a website, and it's bark.org. And if you want to do something for your children, go connect with them. They're awesome. And it's Sheltered Alliance, who actually, if somebody's a survivor, a thriver, or needs help, you can actually go to the place and sign yourself up for, like, to find a home. So shelteredalliance.org, and then
Okay.
bark.
So Vanna, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Actually, got enrolled into beauty college,
Nice.
and yes, I'm gonna be an esthetician.
Well, good for you.
I'm gonna work mostly skincare, but yeah, I'm gonna get my esthetician's license, and that's
And
what
so,
I'm
oh,
doing.
I'm sorry. I was just going to finish answering the question, maybe because I think you thought, um, you asked what tips. If your child starts being secretive or closes the door, I would never, never let a young child, go in their room with either a phone, iPhone, any kind of phone that gets on the internet, or the computers need to be out in the open. The FBI actually said that it is now safer for your kids to be on the street than sitting on your couch, on the internet, on social media, unsupervised.
Wow.
That's how bad it's gotten in the grooming department, online.
And I remember reading a tip on something that said if an adult comes into your kid's life and is showing unusual interest, that you need to
Yes,
take that very seriously because they usually are going after little boys and little girls who are a little insecure, who may have some, some need some attention, and they know exactly how to give it to them.
exactly. There's books on Amazon.com that you can learn how to be a good pimp. And, it's there. It's unbelievable. The other thing I was going to say was that, if your child starts acting out or different, it's not time to take things away. It's time to figure out what is going on in their lives. Because I'm just talking about myself, but when things were happening to me, I started doing all kinds of things. If people would have paid attention, the signs were everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Drug use, alcohol, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So
So Diana, if somebody wants to help out with Hope Ranch, I'm just going to give you an opportunity because you are kind enough to come on here, you and Vanna. And if you could, how do people get a hold of you to find out more information, or if they wanted to donate or help you guys out, what do they do?
go to our website, hoperanchministries.com. And we're also on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're there. We personally don't do fundraisers, but that's just our choice, and that's how we do it. And I don't know, yeah, that's the best way. We're having an appreciation night on August 26th, and I believe if it's not there, it's going to be there the day after tomorrow, all the things, the events that we're doing this month. But one of them is we're having an appreciation, just a barbecue where everybody that's interested in helping and making a difference to come. And people need to start just by coming out and we call them freedom stands. We hold signs, we talk to people. We have a presence at the U of O football games, before the football games, in the parking lot. And you would be amazed at the conversations we have and the people that stop and say, thank you. It means something to me. And Rick, I don't know if you have time, but I took to have Vanna say something. But
Okay.
what I
I
want
have
her
time.
to, okay, would like her to say, I took her to the coast for her 17th birthday. Vanna, do you feel comfortable telling what happened?
Oh my gosh. Thanks for
Yeah, exactly.
So listen. So what happened? I was sitting in front of a bar because Diana had to go to the bathroom. Whatever, she's gonna get us a snack. You told me to tell them what happened. I'm gonna tell them what happened. So this is exactly what happened. I was sitting in front of a bar because my Diana wanted to go get some food. She had to go to the bathroom, whatever. And this guy, some old man, like is sitting next to me, and he's like, "Oh." He's like, hey girl, like you are so beautiful. He's like, do you want to just ditch your grandma and come over to my house? Like we can go have some fun. And he kept on asking me all these things, and he's telling me that he owns his own car, he has money, he has his own house. And this is like some old man just sitting in front of a bar. So
And
Diana
this is
comes
a
out.
place, sorry, but a minute, but this is a place where
Okay.
families were sitting. You can eat outside and it's very casual and families are there, kids are
Right.
there.
Anyway, yeah, kids are
So
everywhere.
then what happened, remember?
I'm trying to tell him, Diana.
I know I interrupted you.
Anyway, then what happened was I tried to move tables, and then because Diana kept on trying to get me to stay there, whatever, I'm over it, but because I don't think she knew what was happening. And then he like I moved tables, then he's like, oh, I'm coming back. And then and I went back, and he continued to follow me. And then I tried to walk away, and he's getting this old man to yell at me, like to try to get my attention. As I'm walking away from the bar, he's telling an old man to yell at me to get my attention. And he continues to follow me. So me and Diana like went to this restaurant and all these things. But yeah, that happened to me in such a public place, like where there's gift shops in downtown Florence, Oregon. I don't know if you've been there, but it's super, super, just so many people, so busy. I think it was on a Friday night, and this guy just continued
Right there in plain
right
Yeah.
there
sight.
inside.
And I didn't, like I say, I was ignorant of what had actually happened. Had I known, oh my gosh, he's
Yeah, you
lucky.
probably would have ripped his head
She
off.
told me, oh yeah. She told me later why. Finally, I realized, wait, she wants to get out of here. We're going to go. But if she would have told me, I wish she would have told me, because I would have ripped it apart.
So Vanna, I'm just going to say a couple little comments that are my opinion. Um, you know, there's an evil force and there's a good force out there in the world, and the evil force knows what you've been through, and will constantly try to drag you back and make you feel like, oh, see, everybody thinks that's what I am. But the good force, he already knows what you are, and you're not that. He knows exactly who you are because he formed you from the day that the earth was created. He knew that you were going to be here, and he knew that your life was going to matter. And um, shit happens, and bad things happen to really good people. But how you turn that around. I have a friend, and she was raped. I talked to her on the phone last night. She was raped by her pastor for years. Um, and it was a big case in Lane County, huge. And she and I became friends, and we still are friends. And last night she told me she just got her master's degree in counseling, and she's working in social work, and she's helping survivors and thrivers and suicide people and folks with mental difficulties. She's helping them climb off the wall and come back to reality. So God has a plan, and sometimes the way we get there is not always perfect and pretty because people are really screwy and screwed up. But honey, you're going to do fine. And don't ever let them tell you who you are. Just let God tell you who you are. And you know deep in your heart who you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you keep reminding yourself of that. And remember, God doesn't speak all the time in thunder and lightning storms. He speaks in this little thing in our head that's called a still small voice, and it's a conscious. And you had it all along, and they didn't take that from you. They took some things from you, but they didn't take away the voice of God. And he's still speaking, and he still knows how you are. Jeremiah 29:11 says, I have a plan for you of peace and hope and prosperity, not of your undoing. So don't become part of the undoing of that life. Be part of finding out the plan for who you really are. Okay, hon?
Okay.
All right. Thank you for the bravery in coming on here. I really appreciate it. Diana, thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
And for coming on and finding us such a great person to talk about this and kind of put it in perspective. I appreciate both of you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
All right, you're welcome. So you guys, that's when we watch The Silence or The Sound of Freedom, we look at an international thing, and it's kind of easy to be able to go, wow, that's way out there. That's way across in Mexico, around the world. This is happening in your neighborhood. It's happening in your backyard. It's happening in Lane County. And I'm here in Montana. It's happening in Montana. 7 years old, and they sold her. That's despicable. And we all live in this culture. And if we keep having a supply issue where we have a big market for this kind of stuff, we need to stop that market now. So get involved. Don't allow this to become a right-left issue, because it's not. This is an issue of Vanna and thousands of people just like her. Don't let politics get in the way of helping people. Remember that choose kindness bumper or little sign you have out in your yard? Yeah, choose kindness, not making something political again. God, I'm so sick of it. Tomorrow night we have this young man, and I already told the people he's coming on. It's Colin Davis McCarthy. He has a story. Already getting emails from people going, oh, he did this and he did that. You know what? I'm going to let him tell his story. That's tomorrow night. And then on Thursday, I've got a guy who is going to talk about he got out of the Amish community, and he's not here to bash them, but he has some real strong ideas about why he left. And I thought it was interesting, and he's going to come on Thursday and talk with us. Please share this on your page. Let other people know what's going on. And I will see you right here again tomorrow night, 5 o'clock Oregon time, 6 o'clock Montana time.